Hi everyone, welcome to e-learning. So we're doing natural sciences and mixtures today. That's term 2. Now, look at matter. We know that matter is made up of atoms, it has mass, and it takes up space. Now, in matter, you get pure substances. Now, pure substances is basically made up of one type of matter, as you learned earlier on. Now, if you take an atom and an atom and you combine it together, you're going to get a molecule, or you're going to get an element. And if you take a molecule and you combine it together, you're going to get a compound. Now, this is where mixtures come into effect. This is where it is made up of one or more types of matter. Now, when you get mixtures, you get two types of mixtures. Heterogeneous mixtures, which is basically where you mix two or more substances together and they are combined, but it is not dissolved. That means that even though it's mixed together, it is not, you can separate it. Okay, then you get homogeneous mixtures. That is where you get a solute, that is something that is dissolved in a liquid, and you get a solvent, that means the liquid that forms the solution. And if you mix those two things together, you get a solution. And okay, then now you're going to ask yourself, basically, what is a mixture? So basically, it is two or more different substances in either a solid, a liquid, or a gas that is mixed together, but it is not chemically combined. It's not joined together. It's just naturally mixed together. So you do not need a chemical reaction to separate it. So each substance keeps its own property. Now, let's look at mixtures versus pure substances. If we have a pure substance, this is basically one kind of particle throughout the substance. Like, for example, gold. If you see that gold nugget, that would be 24 carats of gold. That means it's solid gold, it's not mixed with any other substance. Now, if you get 18 karat gold or 19 karat gold or even 22 karat gold, that means the less and less carats it is, the more other substances are included in that gold. So if you get a necklace that is 9 carat, that means there's only 9 carats of gold and the rest is mixed with other substances. 24 karat gold is pure gold. Then if you have water, carbon dioxide, and table salt, that is just all one substance together. Then we have mixtures. Now, let's look at the easiest example, which is a fruit salad. So a fruit salad is one made up of apples, bananas, kiwi fruit, strawberries, papaya, all your favorite fruits put together, and you're going to have fruit salad. So it's not, even though it's mixed, you can separate it. Let's just say from the fruit salad, you only like kiwi fruit or you only like strawberries and you only eat that. So you can hand pick it. Okay, so mixtures are basically two or more substances that have different physical properties. Now, these physical properties can be flexibility, melting point, boiling point, or conductivity. That means electrical or heat conductivity. So we can separate mixtures by removing unwanted parts, or we can get useful materials, we can purify them, or we can recycle materials. So some mixtures basically, like sea salt, for example, it does not need a chemical reaction to separate it. You just boil the water will evaporate, and the soil will be left behind. Okay, so physical properties, basically you look at the parts that make it look different, you look at the size, you look at the boiling points and the melting points, whether it is magnetic or non-magnetic. And say you need to now separate the mixtures. So, like for example, if you have sand and gravel, or you have sand and rice, and if you put sand and rice through a sieve, the sand is going to go through and all the rice is going to stay on top. So you need to know this for exams. Methods of separating mixtures, they are different methods. Hand sorting is picking it out by hand. sieving is small parts fall through the holes. Like for example, when your mom sieves flour, she aerates it by sieving it through, it's falling through those tiny holes. Filtration is separating solids from liquids. Evaporation is removing liquids and you're left with the solid. Distillation, you boil water and you collect the water vapor. That's the purifying water. Decanting is you pouring of liquid, like example oil and water, it doesn't mix, so you decant the water. Magnet, you pick up magnetic materials and you separate it with a magnet. And chromatography is used to separate colors in ink. Now, you need to know more examples on this. In the example, if they ask you in the exams, give me 3 different types of how mixtures can be separated and give an example for each. So here you go. You're going to hand pick it. Example, you're going to separate stones and rice. Sieving, you're going to separate gravel from sand, where the solids will remain at top and the sand will sift through. Then we have filtration. You separate the solid from liquids using filter paper. Example is sand from water. Then we have evaporation. It is used to get a soluble solid from a solution by evaporating the liquid. You're getting salt from salt water. Then we get distillation. It separates substances from different boiling points. You purify water from a salt solution. Then we get decanting. You're pouring off liquid from a solid or from one liquid that does not mix, like example, oil and water. Then we use magnets to separate materials from non-magnetic materials, like example, iron fillings from sand. And lastly, chromatography, which is used to separate different pigments, like example, ink or dyes. Now, let's look at this apparatus, which is called distillation apparatus. Now, distillation is a way to separate a solution or keep both parts, the solute like salt and the solvent like water, separately. Now, how does it work? You heat the solution, example, the salt water. The solvent evaporates and it turns into water vapor. You can put ice on top of that contraption and it will condense, and the salt will be left behind in one container and the pure water will be left behind in another container. So a simple example is if you take salt water and you boil it in a pot, the steam from the water vapor rises and it hits the lid. Then you can take that and decant it into another container. The water droplets will fall off the lid and we say distillation has occurred. Okay, so now why do we use distillation? Basically, it is to clean water from sea, to get clean water from seawater. So you collect both parts, the salt and the water. But the problem is that it is very expensive and it uses lots and lots of energy. So you, as a young scientist, you need to say, oh, we need to solve the water source shortage on Earth. So I'm going to research distillation and try to find a method where it's not going to use so much of energy. So these are the terms you need to know. You can pause the video, you can write them down because it could come out in your multiple choice or mix and match questions in exams. So the terms are soluble, insoluble, filtration, residue, solution, solute, and solvent. Soluble means basically it can dissolve in a liquid. Insoluble, it cannot dissolve. Filtration, the liquid passes through filter paper. Residue is the solid that's left behind on top of the filter paper. Solution is basically when a solute is dissolved in a solvent to make a solution. All right. So think about Fusi and how he can separate flour grains and raisins. He can do it by hand sorting and sieving, but you need kitchen tools for that. So whenever you pose with a problem, think about what tools you can use it and how you're going to do it. Now, the problem with people making all these fancy products that you like is that it causes waste. So, to prevent waste, we decided that recycling is the way to go. Now, to recycle, you need to reduce. Reduce means you must use less of something. You can save electricity, you can use less water, you can take quick showers. Then you can reuse items, like for example, your plastic bottles. You can cut them up and you can either use them as flower pots where you can grow your own vegetables, or you can make fancy gadgets where you can recycle them and you can turn them into something new, and you can make pencil cases and stuff. And don't forget to start a recycling project at your school, because your school will earn money. You can collect plastic, paper, and all these fancy things, um, and your school will use that money to improve their facilities. It's everybody's responsibility to recycle, reduce, reuse. When you are recycling items, you must make sure you do it in a responsible way so you do not harm the environment. Okay, and um, when you take paper, plastic, and ink cartridges to your school, they will collect them and your school will earn money. So you can start a project at your school. What needs to be recycled? Glass, it can be recycled many times. Paper, up to 7 times. You can recycle old cans and old tools, which are metal, and plastic that basically needs to be cleaned and sorted into the different types that you get. Right, so you're going to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Why? Because it causes, if you don't, it causes pollution and diseases are going to spread from poor waste handling. Sewages are going to be blocked and your drains are going to be blocked. Landfill sites are going to increase, which causes land shortage. Wasted reusable materials causes a wastage increase, and recycling basically creates jobs and it helps the planet. So, one type of organic waste that you can use. Look at this. Now, if you have your food scraps, your potato peels, your onion peels, and all of your things that you're going to use, what you can do is you can take a plastic container, fill it with sand at the bottom, put your food scraps at the top, cover it with sand again, then put another layer of your food scrap, put sand again, and you can continue doing that. What happens is that the your food scraps are going to decompose, and you turn that once in a while, and it's going to turn into compost, which turns into humus, and this is going, you can mix with in your flower pots while you're growing your vegetable garden, and it's going to improve your soil quality. Animal waste can also improve soil quality, but human waste cannot. It has to be treated first before you can use it as a fertilizer. Things that cannot be recycled is basically paper with plastic linings inside, like your food pet bags, and some plastics that cannot be broken down during recycling. So these must go to a landfill site and and disposed of properly. How can waste be handled in South Africa? So basically, it's taken into landfill sites. Now, South Africa lacks a good recycling system because many people don't recycle, and this increases waste. When this increases waste, it has negative effects on the environment. It causes pollution, you get health problems, you get blocked drains, sewage, poor sewage systems, you get land shortages and wasted resources. You can pause the video and take down the notes because I'm sure this is a really good exam question. Right. From this, you can develop careers in chemistry and recycling and become environmentalist. Okay. Now, you can start a class activity of your own. You must decide what you want to collect, where you're going to store them, and present it to your class as a plan. Now, here's a little mind map you can fill in the missing sections and learn this. Pause the videos, go through it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed learning. Bye, everyone.